Hello. A couple of months ago, I bought one of these ready-made RC Mako flying wings in an online auction from a guy locally here in New Zealand. I haven't actually been flying this all that much since then because it was a bit of a handful for me, at least back then. Might be okay now, but I couldn't seem to fly it for more than a few minutes without smashing it into the ground. In fact, this nose piece, I smashed that and glued it, and then smashed it and glued it so many times that I just got sick of it, and then I stuck the bubble. There's like a round transparent screen thing that you can put on. So I put that on, and then I smashed that, and then I've been flying it most recently with nothing on the front, and it actually flies pretty good. Anyway, that's not really what I wanted to talk about. So anyway, as part of the online auction when I bought this, he was selling it with an autopilot and GPS module, which I didn't really want, although that sounds bad. I mean, it's not that I didn't want one, but all I wanted was the plane, but he was selling it all together, and for the price that he was selling it, it was okay, I thought, to have a GPS module and an autopilot as well. So as soon as I got it, I took the autopilot off and I just flew it without it, just because I wanted to see how the plane flew, naturally. And the autopilot had been sitting around for a while, and I thought, I should at least give it a try and see what it does. So I've stuck it on my Tech Sumo, and I've been flying it a little bit like that to see what it does. So where is my... Oh yeah, this one. So this is the autopilot module here. It has auto circle and auto return to home, and it also has a couple of modes for stabilization, so you can do attitude stabilization, actually. So that's a little bit more better than gyro stabilization. So gyro stabilization only counteracts what it feels, the rotations as it happens, but attitude stabilization actually records an attitude, like an angle, and it will try and return to that if it gets pushed away from it. So it's using the accelerometer as well as the gyro. Anyway, so actually, let me just, this is some photos of when I stuck it into my Tech Sumo, but I wanted to first have a look at this. Yeah, this is the website on the Feiyu Tech, the page on the Feiyu Tech website for this product. It's a pretty nice module, really. Like I say, I didn't really want this because I've been looking at the CleanFlight iNav project a lot recently, and I haven't used it for fixed wing, but there are people using it for fixed wing, and by all accounts it works pretty damn good. So that's probably what I would have done naturally instead of buying this, especially looking at the price, as we'll see in the next page. But it is a pretty decent product, I think. So speaking of the price, I didn't look around for any other places selling this. I just searched for it on Google, and this is the first place that came up as selling it. So Hobby King sells it there. You can see $150 for the module and some mounting stuff, some cables and all that kind of stuff. A little bit expensive, I think. It's quite a nice module though. It's sort of a metallic case, and it's all sealed up. So there is actually a barrow and a magnetometer inside. I tried to open it up, but it seems to be maybe even glued up as well. There are a couple of screws on the back, but it just wouldn't open, so I thought it would be better just to leave it alone, at least before I tested it anyway. Yeah, but it's quite a nice product, although a little pricey. The GPS module, this of course can be used with something else. I don't know if it's a U-Box one. I looked at the messages coming out of it, and it's just the normal NMEA, GPG, RC, or whatever those kind of messages coming out of it naturally. So I thought, once again, I'd just leave it as it was to test it with the flight controller normally, and maybe I'll play around with it and see if it can accept some UBX messages later on. So the manual for this thing is quite well done too. It gives you pretty much all the info you need to know. The English is pretty decent. I didn't see any really strange English in here. And there's a lot of info. Gives you all the specs and positions. One thing that I thought was a little bit odd. Oh yeah, so you can do Elevon mixing Where does it say what mixings you can do? Well, it can definitely do flying wing mixings anyway, so... Oh, here we go. So you can do flying wing V-tail and two versions of V-tail aircraft as well. Where is it? Oh, so this is the configuration program. Requires Windows, which is a bummer. So unlike the clean flight thing, you can't run it on Linux or whatever else. Yeah, I tried this through Wine on Linux. It didn't work. So I had to use Windows for it. Another issue is that it only searches COM ports 1 through 8. So if you plug in your module and it turns up on COM port 10, you're going to have to change that in the Windows settings to be a lower numbered COM port. That was a bit of a nuisance. In general, it just seems a bit antiquated, I think is the best word to describe it. It works fine, but it's just a bit bare looking compared to the stuff that you can do in CleanFlight configurator. Another strange thing I thought is you have calibration buttons for the gyro and attitude, which is the accelerometer. So you'd put the plane level and click this button and it would record what level is supposed to be, I think. But there's nothing for calibrating your magnetometer. So I'm not sure how they're doing that. Maybe they're doing a constantly calibrating routine, looking at the values that the magnetometer is reading all the time, because that is actually possible to do that. I would hope they're doing some kind of a calibration, otherwise, yeah, I don't know, maybe they do it in the factory, I don't know. But the other thing about magnetometer calibration is there's no declination setting in here for magnetic declination. So where you are on the surface of the Earth, your magnetic field is going to be different, isn't it? It's going to be very flat near the equator, and here in New Zealand it's going to be almost 20 degrees pointing downwards into the ground. So it's a bit strange that there's nothing there to set magnetometer settings or calibration. Nevertheless, it seems to work okay though. And another setting which I don't see here is an altitude setting for it to follow when it's doing return to home. Because as you'll see in my video, my flight test video a little bit later on, whenever I flipped it into return to home, it dropped a lot of altitude quite quickly, and then it stuck at a certain specific altitude. So I think it was doing it intentionally, it wasn't a mistake, but the return to home altitude was way too low, and unless I've missed it, I don't see it anywhere here. But yeah, it's fairly well documented. Each little section of that, it tells you how to use the settings and stuff. So anyway, let's look at how I put it into my Tech Sumo. I've moved the receiver bay cavity to the top of the Tech Sumo, so all this is going to be on top of the wing instead of the bottom. It fitted in there quite nicely alongside my IA6B FlySky receiver. It requires all 4 ppm inputs to be connected, otherwise it doesn't do anything, I think, if I remember correctly. So even though I don't have any rudder used on this wing, I have the rudder connection going in there, and it does not support ppm, unfortunately, so that's why I've got all of these wires coming out here and going in there. So you need to use the PWM outputs from your receiver. I had a bit of problems with this ESC. I think this ESC was a bit dodgy, so I replaced it with a nicer ESC, and I haven't had any trouble since then. But the problem that I had was that the throttle would pulse quite abruptly sometimes. Yeah, so I think that ESC was the problem, so that's been fixed now. And what else do I have? Oh yeah, of course you've got to put the GPS on there somewhere, so I cut a little section of wing out for that to go in and taped it closed like that. I noticed that it got quite hot, so that's why I've cut some little air slits along the side there. It seems to work fine, and that's what everything looked like when it was done. and I put some more duct tape over the top of it, and it noticeably messes up the aerodynamic characteristics of the wing with all this stuff stuck on top, so it needs a fair bit more power to keep flying in the same way that it was before I stuck all this stuff on. Plus it's quite a bit heavier too now, and I've stuck some FPV gear on there as well. I was going to try doing FPV with this wing. So I think that's all the photos I had from that point. Yeah, so let me just show you one other thing. This is what it looks like now. I had to add some more wiring to power the video transmitter, and I also added, did I add? Yeah, I think I added a separate, as well as changing the ESC to a nicer ESC, I'm actually powering the autopilot and the receiver off a separate 3 amp S-Spec, just to make absolutely sure that I don't have any of those horrible throttle stuttering problems anymore. So that's why we've got a whole bunch more wiring on here. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, the tape, it's just really hard to get tape to stick to EPP very well. So what I've actually done here is I've used a little bit of hot glue at the corners of this tape around here just to get the bloody thing to stick down properly, and also around here as well. Just a little bit at the corner to tack it on, so it shouldn't be too hard to pull it out later. But it looks a horrible mess, but it still flies. And what else have I done? Oh, I had to move my receiver stuff over here. I wanted to get it a bit further out and keep it 90 degrees with one of them being vertical. So if I go further away doing FPV, hopefully that should still give me control. After I put it all together, I realized that my 1.5 gigahertz antenna was directly over my, 5.8 gigahertz antenna was directly over the 1.5 gigahertz receiver, which was not ideal, but I haven't had any problems with that so far either. So as far as construction goes, it looks awful, but it seems to work. If I was doing this again, I'm sure I could make it much tidier next time. So I think that's about all I wanted to show at this point. The weather here has been really, really bad. When you walk around on the fields, it's like paddy fields. There's just so much water out there. But we finally got a relatively sunny day, and I'll just show you now some of the footage that I got from that. Okay, well, we have some sunlight, and we have a GPS fix, I think. Yep. So I'm just going to fly maybe one circle or so in the attitude hold mode. I won't do any more than that because I don't think you can really demonstrate it in a video very well. You really have to be flying to notice the difference. We have a little bit of wind today, so the attitude mode wouldn't really make a huge difference anyway, but oh, it's not on. I found it helps for launching though, because when you turn it on, the way it works is, if I haven't already explained this elsewhere in the video, I'll explain it now, but you can hold it to a position and then just bump the stick and then let it go, and see how it adjusted the elevons there? So it's, whenever you let go of the pitch and roll stick, it records this attitude as the one that you want to keep. Which means that for launching, it's quite handy. So after that I will do a little bit of circle test and then maybe a return to home test as well. But we'll have to be quick because these 1000 milliamp hour batteries, they don't last very long. And now I will, let's see, I'll try and put it directly above me, approximately, and hit return to home. Not return to home, sorry, circle. So it's going to circle. I'm just adjusting the height a little bit here. Alright, so now I'm hands off, and it is successfully circling my position. So this works really good. I did try this a little while ago, before all this bad weather started, a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed that the circle feature worked quite nicely. So that's what it's doing there. Yep, we're good. The return to home feature, I'll just hit that now, seems to drop a lot of altitude there. In fact, oh no, that's alright, I suppose. I think we're good, but I don't know why it drops altitude at the beginning. So you'll notice that it's not doing anything differently because it was already circling the home position. So let me try. I'm just flying it manually now. Let me try going out in that direction a little bit, and I'll hit return to home there. Notice again it loses a lot of altitude, and it's turning that direction, which I don't want. So, oh shit, now I can't even see it. Okay, I switched the return to home back on because I couldn't see it. So I figured that was the best thing to do. And now, oh look at that, it's coming back to home. Hello? It's too low though, isn't it? So, oh jeez. Alright, so alright, I'm flying manually. Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate while I'm narrating as well, but it seems like the return to home, the direction part of it works quite nicely, but the altitude is way too low. I don't know why it has to be that low. I would have thought it would either go up to a predetermined altitude, or it would keep the altitude that it had. So I'm going to hit return to home again here, and it goes down quite a bit, turns towards the right. I think I'll just leave it because it seems to be okay. Yep, it's coming back, and it went up a bit. I don't know what's up with this altitude, it's strange, but hello. So it made a beeline directly for my position, which was good. And now it's going back into the same old circle routine. Altitude is a bit low there. So I'm almost doing nothing. It's just when it goes by those trees like there, I kind of worry a little bit. But that's pretty good. So where should we go this time? Right, manual mode. Low pass. Oh, not that low, please. What should we do? We probably don't have a whole lot of battery left. I noticed that when I put this extra weight on, the motor has to work quite hard. Alright, return to home there. Hands off. Alright, so once you... Once you get used to the fact that it's going to drop down, and as long as you're aware that it's not actually crashing itself, and you just let it do it, seems to be okay for the most part. And okay, manual mode here, and return to home. Yeah, it always loses altitude to begin with. Okay, I intervened a little bit there, but generally the direction is good. See, look, it's coming straight for me. When it gets here, it veers away and starts circling. So I wonder if there's a way that you can adjust the altitude in a bit more of a sensible way. Because I really am not comfortable with the way it handles altitude at the moment. Okay, let's try it one more time before the battery dies, and return to home there. And we should have a nice turn. Didn't lose much altitude that time. And comes back to us, no hands. Goes over there and starts to circle. Altitude is too low, so I step in. Okay, it's not bad. It's not bad, but it's not to the point where I'd want to actually use it. Although I did actually use it over there a moment ago. Alright. That would have been a nice finale, wouldn't it, if I had have caught it properly? But I didn't. But anyway, I think it works alright. What have we got all over there? Oh, lovely.